Hey, what's up everyone? Hopefully you're having a great Labor Day weekend. I wanted to jump on this video to talk a little bit about the 13 and 14U Perfect Game All-Star games I got to watch a little bit of this weekend. And in all honesty, it's very impressive to watch how skilled and developed some of these players are at such a young age. I mean, they're just coming off that small field, and I mean, one of the kids was throwing 88 miles an hour. I mean, that's kind of insane. I think he was committed to Miami, and a lot of these other players are 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", 180 pounds, which is typical for like maybe a sophomore or junior in high school. And these kids are at that level at a 13 and 14U age. So that means they have 3 or 4 extra years to develop and really gain some body control and strengthen their body, which will help them propel themselves past a lot of the kids that are still at a small, underdeveloped size. So that's one thing I got to see. It's very impressive. I'm sure these kids have put in a lot of time. They put in a lot of effort, probably training, skill training. They probably have some of the best coaches. A lot of them have been to a lot of these perfect game events, been to a lot of tournaments, which is crazy because all these events do cost a decent amount of money, which Perfect Game puts on the best events. And I talk highly of Perfect Game for the fact that they do offer very good tournaments, and they do a great job with everything they do. So you can't knock Perfect Game because they are the leader in probably the travel baseball world. You don't want to knock Perfect Game on that, but really, how many of those kids think that they could play at that level? There's so many kids that are playing at that 13 and 14U level that are spending all the money going to all these tournaments thinking that they are going to be at that level or are at that level. And maybe some of them will be, but the majority of those players that are playing in those games are going to continue to develop as well. And most of those players are going to play up until they're 16U, 17U, and they're still going to be in that same game because they're developing as well. There might be a few kids that switch spots, but I don't think the Perfect Game All-Star games are the be-all, end-all for families. I mean, I think if you can have a better perspective on the way things work, there's so many kids that have played at the highest level as in Major League Baseball that were overlooked, that were undersized, and then they ended up getting an opportunity. Maybe even they had to go JUCO, they had to go a route that was kind of unorthodox for an elite player. And then their body developed, their size developed. They had some elite talent already. It just kind of took a little bit of time to kind of show. That's the reality of a lot of great players that have made it. There are obviously the Bryce Harpers in the world that play in these games and get all the looks early and then get to go and play, obviously, in the majors and have a great major league career. But that's few and far between. And I know a lot of parents want to spend a lot of money on going to showcase your kid. And my thing is, there's a time to showcase and there's a time to train and play. Now, playing baseball is super important. If you're not playing enough baseball, you're never going to get better. So I'm not going to knock the fact that playing tournaments is a bad. I think tournaments are a good thing. Francisco Lindor actually talked about it kind of as a laughing thing. He's like, I love playing with my teammates when I was in travel baseball. He's like, but I don't miss those 8 a.m. games. And I don't miss playing 5 games on a Sunday to try to win a tournament. He goes, I don't miss that. And if you've ever played travel baseball or played in a tournament, you probably played 3 to 5 games on a Sunday to try to win a tournament. And the funny thing is that tournament meant nothing. That tournament probably didn't mean a thing. And it felt good when you won that tournament, but half your players, you don't even know where they're going to be in a few years. Like, it's fun to win for sure, but really have a perspective about what you're trying to do. You're trying to get better. You're trying to play at an elite level. If you're playing against good talent, which Perfect Game does do, they put some of the best teams in their tournaments. And if you're going to play, you got to play the best talent to win them. So that is what Perfect Game does a good job with. But you got to think about how many parents are out there trying to say that their kid is going to be at that elite level, watching these Perfect Game games and saying, hey, my kid should be there, or my kid will be there one day. I mean, there's only 20 to 30 kids in those games. So you're like, oh, well, I mean, how many kids are playing travel baseball? And there's obviously hundreds. Perfect Game, I think, has a tournament in Atlanta every year where there was 300 to 400 teams in that tournament. So, I mean, that's insane, the amount of players that are in these tournaments. And obviously, scholarships are limited for college baseball. So when all these colleges are coming to watch these players, they're looking for tools. If you want to really focus on anything, if I'm a parent, I'm going to focus on putting my kid around the best players with the best coaching I can, and let them develop whatever physical abilities they're going to have. Because a lot of kids genetically are just at a disadvantage. So you need to maximize whatever ceiling you have. You need to play with some confidence, have fun, and let the process kind of play itself out. The more money you throw at a situation, especially, I mean, you can talk to some of the parents that have done this in the past. Sometimes the more money you throw at the situation, it's not going to make the difference. So look back, sit back, and say, hey, what am I doing to really get my player to play at the college level? Because in the reality, that's probably what you're trying to do. I mean, high school is one thing, but you're probably trying to play at a college level. So say, what do I have to do to get to that level? And then work yourself with the best players, with the best trainers. I would get with a strength coach. I'd work physically on making sure my body is to the level it needs to be. And then from there, you're either going to be good enough or you're not. And if you get an opportunity, then it's your turn. It's your time to really showcase yourself. So I wouldn't really showcase myself. If I'm a kid that's not at elite level, I'm really not going to really go out of my way to showcase my abilities until I'm physically developed. So I'm a junior or I'm a senior in high school, then I'm more physically developed, and now I can showcase myself to some of these big schools. You don't have to go to the Florida camp as an 8th grader and think that's going to make a difference in your playing career. Maybe you're not developed enough for them to even take interest in you. So wait until your body is developed, wait until you get to a certain level, and then really start to spend money and showcase yourself. But for me, I think Perfect Game does a great job of what they do, but understand if you're a parent, throwing money at a situation isn't quite the only answer. Like, I would throw money at development, I would throw money at having fun. It is an experience. Go to tournaments, have fun, but understand what you're trying to do, and each and everything you're doing every weekend, all the time you're giving up, make sure it's of value to you and your family, because at the end of the day, when you're looking back, and if you do make the majors, you're going to look back at it and be like, wow, that was a fun experience, but in the grand scheme of things, was it that big of a deal? So for me, I would say focus on training, focus on the important things, especially as you're growing up. And by the time you're a junior, you should have an understanding of, hey, like, here's where I am, here's where I want to be, and then let your body develop and make the best decision for where you are in your career.